Hello everybody, Sunday Adelaja here. I want to comment on the visit of my president, of our president, President Muhammadu Buhari, to the United Nations. Guys, I know that what I'm going to say right now is going to draw the anger and the fury of a lot of my countrymen. It's like I and my countrymen are, we're reasoning differently, and it's like we can never agree with a lot of my countrymen. When I see the comments and the commentaries that are being, spoken about the visit and the speech of the president in the United Nations, I'm heartbroken. I'm alarmed, as if these people were not even listening to this president, to this man. It's like people are just after his head, and people are only after his errors. People don't want to compliment him for what he's done wrong, for what he's done right. And I'm surprised. What kind of a country are we? Who are we? Are we just after our own selves, our own leader, our own country? If you really love your country, you're supposed to celebrate your president and your leader when they do something right. Now, I have my disagreements with the government of Muhammadu Buhari, but when it does something right, we need to acknowledge that. Now, my own conclusion is that this speech by President Muhammadu Buhari at this United Nations General Assembly was the best speech ever by an African president. And now, let me tell you something. I've been listening to speeches of African presidents from when I was a teenager, maybe from the age of 15. I started listening to the speech of Nigerian presidents in UN General Assembly from the time of President Shehu Shagari. And because I remember there was a big argument between Shehu Shagari and Obafemi Awolowo, and Awolowo was criticizing what Shagari was saying, and what he was supposed to say. So I took interest because of that. I wanted to say, what are these people really talking about? That was when I started listening. And I've listened to Shagari, I listened to Buhari first time, I listened to Babangida, I've listened to Obasanjo, I've listened to all our leaders visiting General Assembly of United Nations to speak. But this one, and I've listened to Buhari himself a few times, but this time, my president, I'm proud of you. But the job is not over yet. And I must give my own little contribution to there must be a follow-up to this speech. And for people who are just saying, I've lost my mind, and what is he saying? Some guys will say he's a Yoruba guy that is just supporting anything Buhari does. He's a Buharist. No, it's not because I'm a Buharist. It's just because I am objective. And my only allegiance is to the truth. And now, I will show you, don't believe my word, right? But let me show you what makes this speech the best speech by an African president. I'm going to show you. Don't be in a hurry. You will hear yourself, and probably you will agree with me, especially if you are going to be very analytical. Now, he mentioned something, and I try to listen to all the commentaries on Nigerian television and in the newspapers, the major newspapers. No one mentioned this. Broke my heart. No one. I've not seen it. Maybe if you are, when I say it now and you see it somewhere, send me the link. Maybe I missed it. But I've not seen anybody mention the most important thing that President Buhari spoke about. His greatest contribution, his greatest idea, his greatest selling point, the bullet point of his message. Nobody is noticing it. So what is it? What is the point that President Buhari made that must be followed up, that we must work for its execution? Now, what he said is this. President Buhari said, in the world that we are in right now, we have a lot of threats and a lot of danger. Everybody is talking about Boko Haram or ISIS or Islamic fundamentalists and all kind of danger. We have terrorism, mass shooting, regional conflicts, war. But Muhammadu Buhari came this time and said, You know, guys, there is a core reason for all that. Especially when those threats are coming from developing worlds. He said the core reason for all these threats that we are all talking about, for all this danger to our civilization, is one thing. And that thing is poverty and exclusion. Ooh. President Buhari, I could kiss you. Here in Europe, we could kiss people like that. Mwah! He nailed it. Poverty and exclusion. Why is it that people are dying in Libya? Why is it that people are dying and sinking in Mediterranean Sea? Because of exclusion. Do you know that right now Europe has taken the decision, especially the Italian government, that even humanitarian organizations should not rescue people who are drowning in the Mediterranean Sea. They should not be rescued. And if you are rescued, you are going to jail if you rescue them. Anybody who saves and rescues those people is going to... Now, that is protectionism. Somebody who says it's protectionism, they need to protect themselves. No, they are building a wall. They want to lock out the developing world. They are locking out Africa, Asia, and Trump is locking out Mexico, Latin America. Everybody is locking us out, guys. We are a nuisance to the world. That is what the developing world are telling us. That is what Europe is telling us. That is what America is telling the world, Latin America and Mexico. Is that Trump is building his walls? Exclusion. And we all say, oh, we live in a global world. We are all citizens of the world. But that's just talk. Who came about the idea of borders? It is the rich countries to lock out the poor countries. It is the privileged people of this world to lock out the underprivileged people. That's how people came out with the borders, with passports. Do you think God created passports? Visas? No, it is the rich that are trying to protect themselves from the less privileged. Guys, it's supposed to be the opposite. The rich and wealthy, the strong and mighty, are supposed to be the ones lending a hand to the weakest of all. But in our world today, they want to even reduce the population of the world, wipe out the weak and the poor. President Buhari got it right. And for once, Nigerian journalists and journalism in general and media could not even acknowledge this. But even though I'm saying this, yet this is not the most important thing that Muhammad Buhari said. There's something that the solution that he came with, the solution that this man, I don't know who his advisors were and who he reasoned together with, who made the speech for him or whoever gave him that speech, or maybe he himself did, they deserve a national recognition. What I just told you, the most important thing he said, but that is not even the greatest thing in this speech. The greatest thing in his speech is the solution to poverty and exclusion. And this is what makes it and qualifies it as the greatest speech by an African, not just Nigerian, by an African leader ever in the history of United Nations. Let me tell you the solution that President Buhari came up with. And he presented it beautifully. He said, when another danger, a previous danger, hit our world, just like we are seeing the danger of all this danger of exclusion and hunger right now and poverty, when the danger of Second World War hit our world and was about to wipe out civilization, he said there was an unexpected help from unexpected places. from an unexpected place. And he made a point, and he said, the United States of America made and did the greatest gesture, humanitarian gesture of that country. And it's true. The greatest humanitarian gesture and the greatest act of kindness and charity that America has ever done is what President Muhammad Buhari was talking about. And what is that greatest act of gesture of love and charity and kindness that America ever did? And he reminded them, he was reminding the whole world, and these are educated people, these are diplomats, they know what he was talking about. But it's like in my country, in his country, people don't even know what he was talking about. But Muhammadu Buhari came up with that solution and used their history, the history of the world, to nail his point. He said, when this danger of Second World War was about to wipe out the world, and everybody was impoverished as well, like now we are impoverished. Europe was impoverished. Japan was impoverished. America came to their aid and declared, listen closely, what is called the Marshall Plan. I hope you've all heard of the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan is the gesture that America did to restore Europe after the massive destruction of the Second World War. So what America did is that they poured billions of US dollars to the whole of Western Europe and rebuilt in a very short time Europe to the level of the economy before the Second World War, and even higher than that. And they did the same thing in Japan. That is how development came to Western Europe and Japan. All those two economies just exploded. America became the first economy in the world, Japan became the second, and then Europe became the third economy. So now what President Buhari said is that you are seeing all these problems coming from these developing countries, from Africa. Africans are running, they are risking their lives to escape poverty. Mexicans, Latin Americans are risking their lives. And instead of you to do the same thing to these black people, to these people of developing world, you decided to lock them out, and you think the problems of the world will be resolved by locking out the rest of the world? You think that the threats to the world will cease by depriving the larger percentage of this world from participating in human endowment and the commonwealth of humanity? So then he was appealing to them and said, please, we are not asking you to give us aid. He said the way you were trying to give us aid before didn't work. We don't need aid anymore. Let's do partnership. Do for us what you did for Europe. Now, Europe has been strengthened. Let Europe, America, and Japan come together and do a kind of Marshall Plan to deliver Africa from the bondage of abject poverty. That is what Muhammad Buhari, that is the genius that our president gave to the world. The ingenuity. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. But speeches don't bring solutions. Solutions come when we send foot soldiers to go and lobby behind the scene the thing that has been declared in public. So we now need to put our diplomats on their feet. We thank God that the president of the General Assembly now is a Nigerian. We now need to urge them to stand up and go and lobby America, lobby Japan, lobby Western European countries for them to come up with a Marshall Plan, not so that it would not just remain a speech, so that it would not just remain there, but so that this speech will be realized in real life by these people. Please, President Buhari, Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think the job is just starting now. Let's do what Obasanjo did. Obasanjo, when he wanted to campaign for the cancellation of debt for Nigeria and African countries, he was traveling. He did it. He went for it, and he got it. Let's do the same thing with this idea of Marshall Plan. Maybe we could be lucky. Maybe our partners in America and Europe and the developed world, God will touch their hearts to listen. Well, let me, like I said, don't believe me. Let's see. It's just a fragment of that speech from the video of the fragment from that speech from President Muhammadu Buhari. Just 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes video. And you will see, you've got to listen very closely because, President Buhari is not too charismatic in his speech. So you've got to listen and think and thoroughly think about that video, what he's talking about for you to get it. So let's listen, please.
On cessation of hostilities after World War II, the United States, in one of the greatest selfless undertakings in history, decided to revive Europe through the Marshall Plan and uplift and restore Japan economically. This generous policy catalyzed a great economic revival globally. This action of the United States not only benefited Europe and Japan, but the United States as well, through vastly improved trade and cross-investment. The United States and Europe have become friends and allies since the end of the war. The United States and Japan also become friends and allies. This example can be replicated with respect to Africa. A developed Africa will not be antagonistic to industrialized countries, but will become friends and partners in prosperity, security, and development. A prosperous Africa will mean greater prosperity for the rest of the world. A poor Africa will be a drag on the rest of the world. Is this what the international community wants? A coordinated multilateral effort should be set in motion to utilize and maximize the use of the enormous resources on the African continent for the benefit of all nations. Investing partners will be able to recoup their investment unifold over time.
Now, guys, listen to me. That was a beautiful point. Now, let me point to one more point that the President Buhari just made there. He said when America did that, the Marshall Plan for Europe, up till today, 50 years later, or actually 60 years later, Europe has become the best and the greatest ally of America. Why? They want a friend. When you give a friend food to eat at his time of need, you win a friend. And he said they also help Japan. Japan also now is one of the greatest allies of America. You want another friend because you gave them, you met their needs at their time of need. And President Buhari feel like throwing you kisses again. You know what? He said, if you will come to help Africa, we will not be ungrateful. You will win a friend in Africa. This is not just to America, this is to all the developed world. Win a friend, but if you don't come and lend us a hand right now, is that what you want? Do you want insurgents? If you give us exclusion and poverty, you leave us in our poverty, you leave us in our exclusion, is that what you want? Do you want to close your borders? Is that what you want? You want criminality? You want insurgency? You want cross-border crimes? You want human trafficking? You want all those terrible consequences? That is, those terrible consequences draw their inspiration from poverty and exclusion. But if you will help Africa industrialize and develop, we will become your friends and your partners for the greater prosperity of the rest of the world. All of us will live a good life. So he says poverty remains our greatest threat and challenge for all of us. Please don't exclude us in our poverty. Lend us a hand like you did for Europe and America and Japan. Let now Japan and America and Europe come together to help eradicate all this evil of poverty and of exclusion, the walls that you are building. Let us become friends. So I wonder why my country media, mass media, journalists, commentators have not noticed this brilliant job that our president just did for us. He's made us proud. And I think this video needs to be circulated all over the world. And we need to show it to our children, to our diasporans, to our people in university, to our students. People need to study this video and give the kudos where it belongs. President Muhammadu Buhari, I've been criticizing you a lot and your policies of late, and I have a lot more criticism to come, but this one, I give it to you. Thank you, sir. You made us proud for the love of God, church, and nation.